In just a few years, football changed completely. Cristiano Ronaldo left Europe, Neymar followed, Karim Benzema, N'Golo Kante, Riyad Mahrez. One by one, some of the biggest names in football suddenly moved to Saudi Arabia for enormous amounts of money. At the same time, Newcastle United became one of the richest clubs in world football overnight. Transfer fees exploded, player wages reached unbelievable levels, and football fans everywhere started asking the same question. Why is Saudi Arabia spending so much money on football? But here's the thing. This was never just about football, because behind the transfers, the sponsorships, and the billion-pound investments, Saudi Arabia was building something much bigger. To understand why Saudi Arabia entered football so aggressively, you first need to understand what the country was trying to achieve. For years, Saudi Arabia faced criticism internationally over issues surrounding politics, human rights, and global reputation. At the same time, the country knew it had a major long-term problem. Oil would not last forever. Saudi Arabia needed to modernize its economy, attract tourism, increase international influence, and improve how the country was viewed globally. That's where a project called Vision 2030 came in. Vision 2030 was Saudi Arabia's massive plan to transform the country's future, and sport became a huge part of that strategy. Because sport has something incredibly powerful, attention. Football in particular has billions of fans around the world. It dominates social media, news headlines, and global culture in a way almost nothing else can. And Saudi Arabia realized something important. If you can control football headlines, you can control global attention. In 2021, Saudi Arabia made its biggest move yet. Newcastle United was officially taken over by the Public Investment Fund, also known as the PIF. The PIF is Saudi Arabia's sovereign wealth fund worth hundreds of billions of pounds. Suddenly, one of England's most historic clubs became one of the richest football clubs on the planet overnight. The takeover immediately caused controversy. Some fans celebrated wildly, believing Newcastle could finally compete with Europe's elite again. Others were deeply uncomfortable with the ownership. The Premier League faced huge pressure over whether the takeover should even be approved. But eventually, the deal went through, and almost instantly, Newcastle changed. The club began spending heavily. Better players arrived. The infrastructure improved, and within a short period of time, Newcastle had gone from relegation candidates to Champions League qualifiers. But Newcastle wasn't the final objective. This was just the beginning. Then came the moment football truly realized something huge was happening. Cristiano Ronaldo joined Al Nassr, and suddenly, the entire football world was watching Saudi Arabia. At first, many people thought it was simply a final payday for an aging superstar, but then more players arrived. Neymar joined Al Hilal in a deal worth enormous money. Karim Benzema left Real Madrid after winning the Ballon d'Or. N'Golo Kante followed him. Then Riyad Mahrez left Manchester City shortly after winning the treble. This wasn't random anymore. Saudi Arabia wasn't just signing famous players, it was buying attention. Every transfer generated global headlines. Every unveiling went viral. Every major player moving to Saudi Arabia forced football fans to pay attention to a league they previously ignored completely. And that was the point. The Saudi Pro League suddenly became part of the global football conversation. Not because of history, not because of competition, but because of money and star power. Now here's the uncomfortable truth. Football made this possible. Modern football had already become completely dependent on money. Transfer fees exploded into the hundreds of millions. Player wages reached unbelievable levels. Clubs went into huge amounts of debt trying to stay competitive, and owners constantly searched for new investment opportunities. That created the perfect environment for outside financial power to enter the sport. Because when clubs, leagues, and players become obsessed with money, the biggest spender eventually gains influence. And Saudi Arabia had more money than almost anyone else. At the same time, many football authorities looked weak. Financial fair play struggled to control spending properly. The Super League scandal had already exposed how desperate elite clubs were for more revenue. And across football, financial power was becoming more important than sporting tradition. Saudi Arabia simply recognized that weakness before anyone else did. This is why many people believe Saudi Arabia's football project is about far more than sport, because football creates cultural influence. When millions of people watch your league, discuss your clubs, follow your players, and visit your country, you become globally relevant in a completely different way. And Saudi Arabia isn't just investing in football. The country has invested heavily into boxing, Formula One, golf, esports, and other major sporting events across the world. The strategy is clear. Use sport to increase global influence and reshape how the country is viewed internationally. And whether people agree with it or not, It's working, because just a few years ago, almost nobody discussed Saudi football seriously, whereas now, it is a huge part of football conversations around the world. The scary part is that this could just be the beginning, because football's financial landscape is changing rapidly. Saudi clubs may eventually attract younger stars in their prime, not just aging superstars nearing the end of their careers. And if that starts happening consistently, European football could face a completely new challenge financially. European clubs are already struggling with rising wages, transfer inflation, debt, and financial fair play restrictions. Meanwhile, Saudi Arabia has almost unlimited financial power behind its football project, and if football continues prioritizing money above everything else, the balance of power in the sport could completely change. The Premier League still dominates financially for now. The Champions League is still the biggest competition in club football, but Saudi Arabia has already proven something extremely important. Football can be influenced, and in modern football, influence usually follows money, because once players, clubs, leagues, sponsors, and broadcasters start following financial opportunity over tradition, the entire structure of the sport slowly begins to shift. And whether fans like it or not, that shift may have already started. For decades, Europe controlled football, the biggest clubs, the biggest leagues, the biggest players, and most importantly, the most money. But now, for the first time in modern football history, a completely new power is entering the sport. And unlike traditional football clubs, Saudi Arabia isn't thinking about one season, one transfer window, or one trophy. It's thinking long term, because this was never just about signing famous players. It was about influence, attention, power, and so far, the strategy is working. So the real question is this: is Saudi Arabia helping football evolve, or are we watching the sport slowly being taken over by money?